Hello everyone. Today's topic is an important one, and it is how to, in a sense, utilize your veil, which I will be explaining what that is, and turn the veil into a vehicle. And that is actually the perfect title for this episode. Because when you look at what a veil is that mysterious concept where a human being, as an individual association, begins to not just see one association, but see how that everywhere he looks, it's all life. It's as if that moment where you're actually becoming sensitive and you see there's no need to, in a sense, think that happiness is hard to find, or it's something that's not there, or your life's tough. It's just that how you're tuning, how you're aware of your experience now is not very clear, and that's why it's so formed. Know that when your story is very detailed, so in other words, if you were to write down your problem and you have a lot of details, that problem is going to stay a while unless you look at the veil, look at how there are unknown qualities to that condition. You're never in that condition. The minute you begin looking at one part of your problem, you can absorb, you can see that your mind can expand until you could totally either see a solution or totally see that problem being even more complex. The idea is, what are you trying to achieve when you look at life? And so you see that you're not trying to achieve something, and that's the most important thing, because many people have missed this. Many people think that there's some action, something that they're not doing. And so that's at first a being who has not observed himself. When you observe yourself, you see that really it's not something outside of you. It's just the fact that you're aware of your existence to a point where that sense of internal is just something that is. So it's that graceful moment where someone asked you, what are you thinking about? And you had no idea. Yet there was no thought. You were just in a very peaceful moment. You sometimes can tune into the moment where thought dissipates immediately. There have been moments where I have been absorbed in my experience, and in a sense, I don't want to say internal, but it's as if everything externally was creating just in a sense, shouting out the word. How do I say it? It's as if everything I was seeing in that moment was being observed through a sense of my knowing that didn't need an individual association because it knew. So it's as if my sense of knowing became one that did not gravitate towards an uncomfortable path or a path that is not clear. Because when you ask deep questions, that's a human being who, it's as if that moment where all the wolves of ideology are around you and you've just held that torch and you're spinning around, and you're pushing off the wolves. And so suddenly you need to really see why you're holding what you're holding. Many people make their sense of salvation, make their sense of a savior a transcendent thing, but don't go out looking for it. It's as if they feel that they're not supposed to ask deep questions, It's as if you're not supposed to question something that, for example, has become naturally a question for you. It's very important you follow your natural instinct. You follow your flow. What that means is that you get certain ideas, and these ideas suddenly have momentum. So that means that someone has said one word to me, and just that one word has worlds have opened, for example. From just that one word, and that person had no idea what was going on in my mind, perhaps. It was a word they said, and so the way I was looking at my life and how the word suddenly came into my reality, my world shifted, Because you see that some aspects of, I guess, being an advanced communicator are very unspeakable. It's your experience that is guiding you to the imagery that is taking you to a point where you don't require the imagery to be certain. So many people think that you need to have a vehicle, and so there's been this talk of a Merkaba vehicle or something like that. And so that's a very interesting concept, but it's not I don't know anything about it. But all I can tell you is that what I know is that there is a sense of vehicle. So when I looked at consciousness and when I looked at the technology, which was the body it was aware of, I realized, no. It's not that I'm navigating just my body. My whole world is in my perception. So my perception needs to be very clear. It's as if I don't need to get a better phone. I just need to just adjust my existential clarity by really being aware of what is here, what is alive. And so the best way to do that, or the way that I know, which is the simplest and actually the one that you can immediately do, is, in a sense, what many people try to achieve through meditation, to the point that you're bringing self-awareness. And so that self, in your true observance of it, is actually empty. And I don't want to talk about it too much because this is actually your experience, but you will see that the moment you have allowed yourself a moment where everything is allowed, you will feel that it's not a story thing which you need to look for ideas to be certain of. It's a knowing thing, and this knowing thing really comes from your observance of the experience, which gives you, in a sense, the presence of the observer. So what that means is I could stand in a room, and in an instant I can intensify my presence by actually getting rid of myself in that moment. So what that means is it's kind of like you see, ideas, ideology, and personality are things that are utilized because man gives permission for language to dictate his rationale. Because rationality, in order for many of us to even know what that word means, we need dictionaries. We need imagery before to suggest the imagery that it wants to suggest. So we really see that any law or any viewpoint is actually just the point. But this plane is much more vast in regards to dimensions. And so we really need to see that conventional methods are just a path. But in this world where there's many paths up this mountain, the one that will serve you the most is your path. And so the path of self-understanding. It's that moment where you've lived in life so much and you're like, okay, wait a minute. Right now, I require more of an awareness. Do I have it? What are my questions? And so these questions are here to shake you, by the way. I'm not here talking as if we are in some fantasy land. I'm here to shake you. What that means is that I will talk about these ideas to the point that people wonder, what is he talking about? And then not ask me, but ask themselves. It's how you update your operating system in life. You become aware of yourself, you look at yourself, and so if you've constantly been in dynamics where you've just been moving, you've just been hurrying, and you've constantly been just hearing things, your days involved a lot of talking and and whatever, So if whatever you do, you need to balance it by actually moving to an atmosphere of stillness and silence. So what that means is that person who was depressed needed to, for a second, sit down and be still for a while and be silent for a while. That's it. Just for maybe 15 minutes. Try it. And you will see that your own silence and stillness will center your awareness to the present moment. It's like that moment where you sat on that grass, you lied down on that grass field, and you just looked at the sky, and it was just such a pleasant moment that it's like you were not looking for truth or anything. You just trusted the moment, and you basked in sunlight. And we actually make our life really complex, and then realize that it's just an idea that we're taking too seriously. Psychology is very important for it to be organized. So a lot of my talks are actually to help enhance psychology. But you will see that psychology needs to be enhanced because it is taking a role. And so it's saying, I know the mind, but it actually doesn't, right? Because the mind is not just linear, it's also nonlinear. What that means is your dreams inspire you as much as when you're, your normal day, you know. You need to become so sensitive to your life to then have the quality of information to be better too. It's like that person who just walked a bit slower, you know, suddenly observed so much more. It's like a dimension of knowledge just opened up to him because he was patient enough to let things pass and for him to observe. What that means is when a person fails, many people surrender to ideology and to what the external is saying. So the guy, tries something and he fails, and the world rejects him, the society rejects him, and he sees, oh man, what do I do? And so if you're not self-aware of your origination of awareness through your internal dimensions, in a sense, as I'm saying now, you will get really bothered. You'd be like, no, why? Why is life saying this to me? Gosh, why is life? And so this is simply someone who has not explored the self because they're assuming that the other is so solid, So it's as if you need to examine life because it's part of your, intelligence update system. It's like that moment where you get be aware of what even clarity means for you, and you really look for it, and then your own search has begun. And so your heart has been beating always in the right direction. Now, also to continue with what I was saying, there will be many formats present, and these formats will suggest aspects of you, and these aspects of you are changing. So what that means is psychology is putting a sticker on a changing process, and so the handling is never someone, never for you to sit on a couch and someone telling you what to do. No, that's not proper handling. The proper handling is you take existential responsibility for the darkest corners of your mind and also for the brightest, windows. And what that really means is that, are you willing to right now sit down for a little bit and just completely observe everything? If you are, you will see that you have given yourself the permission to not look for freedom or trying to find freedom or try to find truth, but to give yourself a silent moment to see if you even have hands, to see if your intentions are clear, to see if you are really walking where you want to be walking, or if your personality is stuck to the chain, is chained to its environment. Guys, it's very important, because if you're constantly seeking ideology, if you're constantly seeking a perfect life, a perfect shape of this plane of existence, you will find that the problem will be that you will limit your own search by a lack of awareness. It's like you're choosing not to look at your blind spot. Why not? Just in an instant, look at yourself, be aware of yourself, see if you really need to do that, Your awareness has to include a lot of things you're going to do in this life. So, when you think about your contribution, are you excited in what you're going to contribute? Hey man, you're a guest in this world. You're a guest in this world for, let's say 100, and, if you're a very healthy person, maybe 101. But you see that you are a guest in the sense that you're born, and when your death comes, you will leave. And so you've simply come to this playground, and you're here to contribute. And so your contribution, which we call an ambition, is actually not a word. Your greatest act here is not something you do. It's how deeply you look at life, how much you have vision, in which from that vision, you're just immediately attracted to where you need to be. So a being who knew his home was much more comfortable than the being who didn't. And so home has for you not to mean the walls that are, that are making your house, but home has to mean your present moment of existence. That's it. And don't keep a lot of ideology, It's not that you're 24/7 a thinker. There is a neural process, but it doesn't mean you're a thinker. You may assume that imagery, but it's that what is real for mankind is a moment of creation. you know, because you probably don't know what you ate 2 weeks ago, you know, and so it's as if new moments of creation are constantly re-updating your experience. It's as if man, choosing to keep a history for itself, utilized that form of technology in the wrong way, because history is constantly being realigned by how consciousness sees it. So many people are just running in the forest and thinking that if they run, you know, very quickly, they'll have better vision, or if they run in a certain way, or if they follow another person's running. But there are those who suddenly learn of the eagle, and so if you see how the eagle just vertically just elevates, the eagle's vision is one where his history cannot be the same, the view of the earth and the trees cannot be the same, because his consciousness, his viewpoint of existence is not the same. So similarity should not create blindness. Similarity should create eruptions in you, in which you're realizing you thought volcanoes were bad. No, your mind and its explosions are beyond that, you know. And when I say explosions, it's the fact that you are being aware that there is no reflection. And so if you are very deep, if you're one of those who you know your walk, you will see that there's even no mirror. But then this is where our paths end, because it's an unspeakable road. Because your internal dimensions are there for you. There's many ways of understanding human consciousness if we acknowledge space and time not as fixed. So space and time are fluid, but man's experience of solid reality is fixed. And so if space and time are fluid, that means we are not assuming things we don't know, because we don't know what the experience of space and time is. I mean, we did understand that, for example, a pole can make a shadow that can inspire a clock, but at the same time, that kid who's playing has no conception of time in the same way that I'm reflecting it as someone who is choosing to experience time and then observing it. Time and space dissolve into your experience because your experience is all that is. And so it is this that really clears you out. You know, it's this moment where you're like, okay, my awareness is not based on my form, it's based on my awareness to all my forms. So it's not like that you are your looks, it's you are the awareness to your looks. And so there's a transcendental quality here, where it's as if you're just feeling, oh my God, I could have gotten up this chair. You know, I could have gotten off this chair. And so, oh my God, I had legs. It's that moment where you've been sitting on a chair for too long. You know, you just get up and you're like, okay, that was like one reality, and now this is a different reality. And you see that the most valuable reality is the one that you're experiencing now, you know. So you thinking about what you're going to do in 4 weeks is not really a direct experience of now. So what that means is throughout my day, I try to balance it. And so what Mr. Within can suggest is that when you go try to find Mr. Within, you realize time will not be that linear for you. So you need to manage it. You need to put timers for yourself, so that if you're going into this very mystic attitude where you're asking deep questions throughout your life, and you're cultivating like a very deep understanding at the same time following your linear plans, it's very important that you will kind of see your curiosity into knowing more authentically and very naturally will give you a multidimensional view, to the point that you can go into an experience of linear time consciously if you choose to, and you can leave that room if you want to, and go into an experience where you're not even aware of space and time in the same way, and your experience is different. You know, it's very interesting. Space and time is like a box in the way man is looking at it. And so this box, we are in it. And so this box is like, let's say it's a room. And so we're in this room. And as you are in this room, you see, when you're in the room and you ask what's going on, it's as if you're not taking responsibility for how you got in the room. It's as if you're saying, oh, my memory's weak, so I can't remember how I came into existence. No. Your awareness to how you came here should be as clear as how you're aware of how you for example, listen to my talk or found my talk on YouTube. Simplicity has an eternal quality where it's being carried through any concept. So a simple man can never be judged. He's too simple to be judged. You go to try to judge him and you see he's too simple. Because a simple man is not carrying anything. And so there's a very interesting story I want to share about this. I believe he was, back in the day, he was a polymath, but they had a bunch of titles. So he was an astronomer, philosopher, alchemist, educator, mystic. So this man who was, let's say, more on the scholar side, and he was an alchemist, he goes to this shoe shop, and visualize this like, let's say, 1,000 years ago, in somewhere in the east, in ancient. I think it's where Iran is now, or Iraq. I don't know. It could be in Iraq. But anyways, so the whole point of the story is that this wise man, this sage, I don't want to say sage, this wise intellectual man, an alchemist, he goes to this shoemaker and he's sitting there and he sees, oh my God, this shoemaker is so old. And so really the shoemaker was an old guy, And so the shoemaker is like this old guy, trying to fix up his shoes, right? And he's sitting there like this young rich guy and educated, and he has all this knowledge and abilities, he thinks, So this old guy, his clothing is also very, very dirty, for example, and his pants is ripped, and so it's as if like a homeless guy's working in a shop, right? So he feels bad for this guy, and so this let's say alchemist, this man, tells this guy, doesn't tell him actually anything. He takes an elixir and puts it on on some metal thing the guy was using, and so suddenly the metal thing turns into gold. So it's as if he's used the powers of his scientific mind to suddenly change something into gold, to do some kind of transformation. Now, what happens in the story, which is very interesting, is that this old guy gets angry and he's like, "What are you doing? Turn that back." And this guy can't understand. He's like, "Are you crazy, old guy? This is like valuable money. Go take it." And the guy's like, "No, take it, turn it back." And he's like, "I can't. Our science has evolved to the point that I could just make this into gold. I could change this lead into gold, And so the old guy just sighs as if like, "Gosh, look at these kids," in his mind, right? And in the story, he touches that metal, and the metal turns back to lead. And so this alchemist is just in total confusion. He can't believe it, and so it's that moment where in his life a supernatural phenomena has shown that the experience is an origination of mind rather than just an origination of body. And so the mind is also, in its transcendent self-reflection, the transparency of all existence. But anyways, so the man changed the lead from gold, and changed gold into lead. And so this was very profound, and it simply suggests that there's more than just one dimension of knowledge. Google doesn't cover it all. Your intelligence is beyond what you think you know, because all that you know is from the past, and you're a new being. Gosh, you need to explore yourself and see what's up with you, And as you do, you will see suddenly you will become that magnificent artist who could, with his eyes closed, draw the world upside down. And guys, that simply shows that a human being, let's just take that imagery, a human being was so humble that he was like, I'm just going to live in this state of being, even though he was capable of moving around. And so I guess in a manner, you will see that the veil will turn into a vehicle the minute you're aware of this of how life is for you. It's as if you're becoming aware of what reality means and what is actually real. It's like that picture you used to see every day suddenly is as if like you're like, what is that picture, you know? And so you're curious now, so as if the reality of it has changed. And so the intensity of this reality gives you profound steps forward. You will see that suddenly you will sit down and just one idea will bring an avalanche of other ideas. And these ideas, imagine they turn into a waterfall, and so there's so many flows. And so the whole ocean suddenly can become infinite drops. But in a sense, there's just one ocean. All form and conception can be taken into a moment where everything is seen through one symbol. That one symbol can be utilized as your vehicle. For mankind, this, as Mr.Within will in a sense playfully reveal now, mankind will use geometry in his abstract and subtler realms of where he is simultaneously acknowledging all reality. So what that really means is that as you become aware of duality, you suddenly very quickly become aware that, okay, everything's the same, everything's one, and so your point of focus as consciousness comes into an observer that only requires one symbol. And so that symbol, you can utilize geometry. For example, for me, I'm more comfortable with I think it's an inverted triangle, you know, an upside down triangle or a circle, you know. And by the way, guys, shapes are what you see in it, just like words. Shapes are just symbols, okay? Don't make a shape into your greatest enemy. Because everyone is an infinite view. Now, to continue. Abstraction will give you the potential to go to nothing, to then work with an abstraction that has the potential to be real. So you will see that the pilot of consciousness or the advanced communicator is that guy who's sitting down, and as he's sitting down, he is no longer sitting down. It's as if he is the world observing himself. And so it's as if in your abstract minds, you're confronting your existence and you're taking more existential responsibility. So you're like that guy who's like, I'm not just going to think one-dimensionally, I'm just going to see the potential of my awareness to everything. And so as you become aware of this, you playfully begin working with it in its own ways. So what that means is that what many people think are past lives, future lives, is actually perhaps true, but it's true in the way that as if a child is making a shape with sand. And so that how that shape is made, you know, is what we're calling time, but the intelligence of the child is just a present moment of now creating things in the sandbox. So what that means is you will see that we may create for ourselves a sense of time that is segmented and a sense of space that is, in a sense, fixed, but space and time are novel conceptions, always in the moment. So man is the illusion. It's as if man cannot touch God in that way because God is nothing to touch. Because God was an untouched experience, so if you are not aware of your sincerity, if you're not aware of what is within you, if you're not aware of how your plane of existence is shaped, you will not be a pilot, but you will be the illusion. And the pilot is a clarity that does not require his certainty to be an ideology, but be in his knowing of the whole. So your veil and any vehicle that you utilize, or in a sense turn into a vehicle, let's say. So because the veil is simply your duality and you're utilizing your duality, taking it into one symbol and allowing that one symbol to move into abstract realms. So in other words, man is actually, when I'm, for example, communicating to you, on one level you're just hearing words, but on another abstract level, these all have geometry. So shapes are in a sense moving, so my thoughts have rhythm because I am aware of what's around me. Simple as that. And what's around me is also present in my abstraction, because my abstraction is an ability to confront what is normal and to see that after you've seen what every normal idea is, your next idea would be something that's insane. So we must not create stories that are pinpointing certain fixed imagery on reality. Reality is your experience, and your experience does not have to be changed in space and time. You are your own observer. And so that means what is valuable is the observer. And the observer, guys, is you don't have to do a single thing. It's always there. It's as if you don't have to talk about the silence. The silence is there. You don't have to move to show the stillness. You just have to be. And so this is why a lot of mystics, when you look at them, if you were just to look at them as a human being, they choose, mystics and yogis, and people interested in the natural flow of where meditation can lead internally, in a sense, you will kind of see that you don't want a journey that has too much imagery. You just want that sense of knowing that you're there. So the problem is in the psychology of man, because he has created a psychology. So we don't need to be identifying with sound in the sense that these words mean images that bother us. So the fact that we're getting angry means that we're not aware of how simply we're naturally maintained and just flowing. It's as if we thought the world was going to end, but the world was still here, and it's like, no, man, don't freak out. Just feel me out. Just see that I'm here. And so this is very important, that as mankind we embrace the spirit of the goddess. We begin to see the beauty of gentle steps, and to see how our love should not just be for our companions, for our friends, and for our enemies, or for any sense of form in our plane of existence, but our love should also be to how our abstraction is always beyond itself. So it's not that you should think in life that I should do these things to be a good person or a bad person. In life, you should think that what am I doing, and what is beyond what am I doing? And that sense of beyond, it really means that you need to really look at your experience to gain a vision of where your clarity is always a new step. Because I used to judge myself, then I realized the judgments are all happening in a new moment. So it's as if it's just extra noise. All your stress and depression is extra noise because you're not taking the responsibility to confront your problems. In other words, you're not applying yourself to life. Nobody said life is going to be easy, okay? But life requires involvement. It's that moment that general knows that immediately action must be taken, and so move, move. And that means just be aware. Be aware of your existence and be comfortable. So in a sense, the most direct command is to be aware of direct experience, and so be self-aware, because external reality is elusive when man's experience dissolves into consciousness, just pure consciousness. So pure consciousness means that there are no words. Language can't reach that high. It can't get on that roller coaster ride. And guys, vehicles are definitely concepts I will talk about, because in your abstract, in your subtler planes of awareness, you can see that you can take an immediate copy of everything you're seeing right now and suddenly feel it all simultaneously present, and also feel its flows. And so it's not really you doing it, and this is the important thing, because this is where I'm saying, actually everything I'm saying is nothing. So don't take anything, for example, in this regard seriously, but see that these are my ideas on just form. So we must always see that anyone is always comfortable to communicate in reality, And so judgment should always give you an internal awareness of where it's coming from. Are you holding the hammer? Or is someone else holding the hammer? Because trial and error will show you only to yourself. And so it's very important you take that step within. You begin realizing that you need to contemplate. You need to, in a sense, take some time to very comfortably go in nature and just relax and just be aware of what living means to you. And then align yourself. Not be so stressed in your house or in some room or in some abstract construct of how life's treating you. You should move beyond imagery that is incapable. You're a human being. We don't have time to be incapable. So do not create incapability for yourself. Do not think that you're not able. You're actually very able. But you need to understand this ability for yourself, or it won't be real for you. I could tell you that you're a being beyond space and time, but if you have not experienced it, it is not real for you. So all that would be valuable for me to say is you need to go experience you. And so hopefully find that you to be within the universe. Clarity, I have found the best way to talk about it is through the metaphor of a butterfly. That if you chase a butterfly, you'll be like a step behind. You'll feel as if in this life you're not doing enough and you're not capable enough and you've wronged and you've whatnot done. And so life will feel as if a burden or as if you're, standing in a river that's going against you, And so it feels as if you're not there, but you're somewhere. So it's very important we observe that dynamic and see that life is here first and then anywhere. So you judging yourself right now in the present moment because of something you did in the past is not very scientific, because scientifically, I guess, you need to observe what's clearly an external reality, So if you're depressed, you're just in the present moment creating a sense of refabrication of imagery that is still in your awareness, in your bubble of presence, in your mind. And you will simply see that regardless how much the Zen Master's cup was full, it could always empty itself. You are not that which does not know. You are that which knows so much that can then create a sense of itself that does not know. And so all veils, all symbology, all forms will turn to that one form which is present through all, and you will simply move towards a collective sense of being. And so you will find that bridge, that every image is within every image, that everything is life. And so the experience of this in a direct way means that this individuality cannot be here. It means the ego has flown so high that the trees are no longer the same trees. And so reality becomes your flow. It becomes your ability to very quickly contribute to others. Because you're seeing that it's as if you think that your mind is a box in your head, or somewhere that you can't see, that is not as efficient as seeing that if everything you're seeing in this reality is your mind, it's as if this sense of body is a thought in your head, you would see that it's as if the storyteller never needed to wake up from the dream of the character. You will move from taking all individual symbols in your spectrum, in your duality, into one symbol, into then taking that one symbol and dissolving that symbol into everything. So if I talked about, for example, how I'm comfortable with the inverted triangle or sometimes the circle, visualize that in my abstract mind that I have conceived this plane of reality. Let's say like I copy paste this view of my reality in my cellular plane. So I'm aware of everything here, but I'm also aware of this and I'm playing with it. So let's say in that subtler sense of my awareness, in that more subtler dimension of my mind, let's say I find a shape. And so not that I find it, but I can project it, and sometimes I can just allow it to appear, you know? And so let's say if I project this shape, I see that the projection is not that it's not like I'm a magician throwing things, it's that I am becoming the experience of my subtlety. So that moment where you said you had a bad day, when you said the word bad, I experienced all the bad ideas I ever knew in that instant. And I was like, for a second where I was just like nodding my head, I was actually going over all the darkness of my reality, you know? But it happens in an instant, and so it's your sensitivity that really suggests how the journey is manifest for you. Some beings never needed a journey. Some beings never needed words. They just looked and they knew and they stood. And there's some beings who thought they stood, and they thought they were the strongest man, the richest man, and the most capable man. But no, the most capable man was so able that he was not here. He went to somewhere better. No, actually, I shouldn't say somewhere better. It's pretty good here, because location and time can dissolve. You know, you guys need to see, you know how cool it is, or how, let's say, playful it is, for example, that right now we are beings that are going from senses of I don't know into, oh, I'm knowing more and I'm learning more and whatnot. It would be very interesting if you suddenly realized that you were the opposite of this relationship. And so you were always a being that you knew, and so everywhere you went, it's as if you were the knowing of the I don't knows. And so if you were suddenly turned into the knowing, could you perhaps be standing similar to the candle's flame that is just emanating its light? Could you be in a sense, sincere moment, that still moment in the mind of perhaps a Buddhist, a Tibetan child who has sat alone in the monastery, you know, late at night, just contemplating the fact that he is not remembering himself as a shaped being. It's as if the reason you know yourself and you're an able being is not by what you are here, actually, but by how much aware you are of what's here. And simply what I can say this for the new engineers of tomorrow is that it's not all about how you're using the tool. It's about what tools are there. What is that tool capable enough? Is it efficient? You know, we give ourselves the ability to go buy new tools, but for some reason our ideologies are still not new. You know, they're still around from, let's say, years and years ago. Unless we incorporate them and we, in other words, take that segmented sense of space and time, which is creating all these senses of, oh, this memory, this memory, this memory, and realizing that neurology is only valid if the experience is kept individual by a consideration. And because we can't explore that consideration, we're not considering it, but that is the problem. Because we must consider how everything is being considered. And so when you do, you dissolve into a new experience, and so that's when the mystic has always been the lover of the unknown. He has seen that once you accept everything in this reality, the next thing is beyond it. And so that is why compassion is one of the most efficient technologies for self-awareness. Just be nice to your environment, be compassionate, be a being who is emanating, who is being the knowing rather than the I don't know, you know. And you will see, at first you'll be like, okay, let me try this knowing thing, and you'll be like, okay, I know things. But suddenly you would see in a moment, all of that would fade. And the knowing that I'm talking about is that knowing that, for example, you know how to walk, but you don't need to think about it. It's that knowing you have of where your bed is. You just know it without needing a certain thinker to realize it. It's an instantaneous knowing. And so it's these instantaneous moments in our reality that really begin showing us the edges of our holographic projection of our world. Because, guys, it's very important to have an ability into realizing the human intelligence is multidimensional, because it's being aware of the human in very new ways. Look at just how many unique type of human beings there are. We are more than just a physical phenomena. We are a transcendental phenomena. And so the being who has an awareness to this transcendental phenomena will realize all form is a vehicle, in the sense that if you're looking at it and it's real, that means you're somewhere. Something has taken you here. So your duality is a veil which can be used as a vehicle, can be turned into a vehicle when you're aware of it from the collective to the individual. When you're aware that you're nothing in which you can be aware of something. And so that is actually a healthier route. And so what are some methodologies that have been really examining life deeply and giving practices about it? Well, there are many perhaps, but the one I am aware of and I find is very fruitful and I would like to talk about is meditation, but also not just meditation. Authenticity and sincerity, the path of the honest man, the path that for a second you stop the shenanigans and you look at what technologies are serving you, what ideas are serving you, and if they don't, not that you stop thinking about them, you just move the spotlight of your attention. You go do something else and it's as if it was never there. Ideas, if they are bothering you, you are just being aware of the dimension of the room, you know? It's as if like the three-dimensional being is suddenly realizing that it has two dimensions, it's two-dimensional and one-dimensional, you know, and suddenly it's looking at some of its two-dimensional aspects and it's like, gosh, how am I really three-dimensional? You know, but you are three-dimensional, and you're actually more than three-dimensional. It's an infinite spectrum until the spectrum dissolves into a moment that is unspeakable but is whole. It's holistic. It is holy. It is divine. It is an awareness to all that is divided. It is an awareness to all that can multiply. It is an awareness to all that can be subtracted, taken. And it can be an awareness to all that can be added. For the table of a transcendent being is always a reality that is bursting into an infinite beam of knowing. And so your devotion is revealed as your surrender has taken away your concept of surrender. And so your presence is found to be as calm as your breath. Much blessings and namaste.